TNA Wrestling is officially dead. What's up, everybody? TonyPizzaGuy here, back again with another video, and that's right, TNA Wrestling is officially dead, and Impact Wrestling is alive and well. After last night's showing of their big anniversary show, Slammiversary, I will say that Impact Wrestling is thriving, and thriving to the point where it's way better than I could have ever expected in 2018. Now, there was a very dark period for a few years where it seemed like every corner you turned, everywhere you looked, TNA Wrestling was going to die. The GFW was taken over. It was going to die. Impact, you know, there was just so much bad. Okay, the reason that we were having all these issues was because there was so multiple owners. There was Dixie Carter. There was Billy Corgan. Then there was Jeff Jarrett. Then now we have Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, and they have turned things around for the better. And more specifically, I want to talk about the pay-per-view from last night. I know I did a full review on my channel, so if you guys want to check out that full review, you definitely can. But I kind of wanted to compare this to Extreme Rules, kind of talk about where they're headed with Impact Wrestling, and kind of how I see this company going forward, and what I would like to see for the future of Impact Wrestling and everything out of here. So, with Impact Wrestling, they had a very awesome show last night. They gave us everything that we wanted from a show. And what was great about this was this wasn't trying to be a WWE rehash. And that's the big thing with TNA Wrestling, now Impact Wrestling, but TNA Wrestling of the past would always try to compete with WWE. They always try to say, this is what WWE does, let's do the same. If you remember, they did a Daniel Bryan type clone with Eric Young. The veteran wins the title, yada, yada, yada. They'd always take WWE guys and push them over their top guys. And it just wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. And now Impact Wrestling is doing their own thing right now. They have like a little partnership with Lucha Underground. And they have a lot of indie talent that's around here. And their show last night was perfectly executed from top to bottom. They have a nice mix. I feel like Impact Wrestling has a nice mix of guys that were just Impact guys. And then they have a mix of like some WWE guys, but also they're still have that Impact feel. So it never feels like you're getting a guy like, oh, well, we're just going to get a top WWE guy like Booker T and push him to the moon. Like, that felt like it was too much of a WWE thing. With this, we get a guy like Tommy Dreamer, who, yes, he's been around everywhere, but Tommy Dreamer's job is to help Eddie Edwards out and pass the torch to Eddie Edwards, and that's what he did, and that was perfect there. Even a guy like Matt Sydal, if you remember him as Evan Bourne, or even Johnny Impact, who was John Morrison, those guys still feel like, yes, they were in the WWE. Even Austin Aries as the champion, yes, they were in WWE, but they still feel like, you know what? They're getting their due here with the style that they're letting to be able to go through, and the way that they're wrestling, and just the way that it feels is that it's not like we're taking like a Booker T or a Scott Steiner, even though I don't have a problem with Scott Steiner. I think he's awesome in TNA. But we're taking like a big name, like a Kevin Nash, or, you know, it's just like, stop trying to be like WWE. And they have. And it's perfect. And I think what we're getting now is exactly what we want to see in a professional wrestling company in 2018. Because this show put WWE to shame here. And it's not even because they're trying to compete with WWE. It's because they're not trying to compete with WWE. They're trying to do their own thing. They're trying to be different. And they're trying to be amazing and awesome. And that's what I like about it, is that it's completely different than what you'd see on WWE. Yes, WWE does have the cruiserweight stuff, but they don't really take it to the degree that they do here. I mean, yes, they do. If we're talking about NXT, their NXT shows are out of the water awesome. But we're talking about main roster stuff. They don't really have the cruiserweight stuff featured as much as they did anymore. Like the 4-way with Impact, Bone Soldier, Phoenix, and Petey Williams. Great. Fantastic opener. Went 12 minutes and a half. Great stuff. Amazing match. Great way to set a pace for this pay-per-view to say, okay, so this is just what you're getting if you're just turning into Slammiversary. You're going to get that speed for the rest of the show, and I think that's what it was. After that, we had the women's match, Tessa Blanchard versus Allie, which, again, this was like my least favorite match, but I don't think it was a bad match. I think that it had its place where it was. I think it was perfect. I think it put Tessa Blanchard over, and it was perfect for that. Then we had Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. This is a House of Hardcore match, and I know some of people are probably like, well, there's too much hardcore stuff on this. Well, you know what? WWE doesn't do enough hardcore stuff on their show called Extreme Rules, okay? So this match went like 11 minutes. All these matches, there was only 2 matches that didn't go over 10 minutes. And the other match that didn't go over 10 minutes was 9 minutes and 45 seconds. So anyway, Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer was a great match. It was a hardcore match. They battled everywhere. And again, it was like that passing of the torch. And this was like a perfect story. If you watch the package, you could get the gist of this. But you figured out that Eddie Edwards kind of had to go to a different place to get where he was. He was a different kind of person. And then he finally got that kendo from Tommy Dreamer. And I was like, there it is. There it is. Also, after that, we had Brian Cage and Matt Sydal, which was great because you got the big guy who could still say, you know what, I can do flips too. And it was a nice back and forth match for the X Division title. It was great, like, let's set a X Division, like, not try and do something crazy, but also just have a really good match. Matt Sydal, I feel, is really, really clean in the ring. I know he did that shooting star press where his feet hit the ropes, but I almost think that was planned. I almost feel like that might have been a little bit planned. I'm not sure though. I feel like it was almost like set up that way, but I mean, Matt Sydal, if anybody could do it, he'd be the guy. And I like the open your third eye thing he's got going on right now. I think that's really cool. And Brian Cage is just a monster. He's a machine, you know. So I like that. And Brian Cage did his thing and won that X Division title, which I think was cool. Because then you can have like that. That's what the X Division title to me was built on. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits. And that's what I feel with the X Division is like, okay, Brian Cage is a guy who can still do crazy things. He can dive. He can flip. He can do all these cool things. And it's perfect for that. They had Su Yung versus Madison Rayne. This is exactly what you need from a knockouts match. Completely different from the Tessa Blanchard-Ali match. Tessa Blanchard versus Ali was sort of like your traditional women's match. This was Su Yung with all the undead bridesmaids, and that was really neat. And you got all that stuff, and then Madison Rayne was there too as well. And then Su Yung putting her in the casket and calling it a day was really sweet because that's like just something completely different. And that's what I like. I like that they're taking chances, and whether it works or not, it's very interesting. It's different because more now than ever in professional wrestling, which I don't really like, is that they're super serious and there's no room for any of that fun stuff that we had, you know, years past. Not even all the Attitude Era, but like all the stuff that Su Young's doing is super cool, and it brings you back to like a different era in wrestling. Because right now it's all like, I'm going to be a first name, last name wrestler who goes out there and does indie moves. You know, like we want to see some characters, and I really like Su Yung, and I really like the character that she has. And Madison Rayne is like a nice contrast there for Su Yung to continue to hold that championship. I think again, Tessa Blanchard, Su Yung would be great. We'll see if that happens. Yeah. Then we get LAX and OGs, which was really cool. I like Hernandez and Homicide. I always liked them. I thought they were great. This was a street fight again. So many crazy things here, and this was exactly what you want out of a street fight. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it. This match went 13 minutes and 40 seconds, and it was great. And it was awesome. It was a street fight, and that's exactly what you want out of a street fight. Tables, tacks, all that stuff. The more extreme than anything at Extreme Rules. And then we have our hair versus mask match, which was very awesome the way that it turned. I really liked this match, and it was 18 minutes and 15 seconds. And they gave this a perfect build all the way through. I really liked this build all the way through because Sami Callihan wanted to get that mask off Pentagon, but he didn't try to rip it right away, right? It started out as like a normal thing, and then it progressed over and over and over into a hardcore fight. And then he eventually started trying to rip the mask off, which I really like. That's like when he really got into that frustration, like, okay, I need to get this win. I'm getting frustrated. So he's trying to rip the mask off to try and humiliate him. And then they ended up bringing in the railroad spikes and started jabbing those into each other. And that was amazing because it's not like one of those things where, like, you can tell that he's not, like, it looks great on TV. It has that great selling, but you know he's not actually, like, burying that thing into his skull. Like, we've seen some things that are, like, I've seen some deathmatch wrestling or hardcore wrestling that I could just, like, turn away from. I was like, oh, that's insane. But this was just enough of, like, okay, that is awesome. That is fantastic. And the way start to finish was great. And then Sami Callihan kind of escaped for a little bit because he's like, I'm out of here. And then they ended up catching him and shaving his head. And it was like the perfect, like, they gave it 18. I felt like there was no moment where I was like, okay, this is crazy. This is like, just end it now. I was like, this is like the perfect amount. From start to finish, the match felt amazing. They had so many good moments in the match, from breaking the ref's arm to the railroad spikes to even shaving the head at the end. I felt like it was like that nice mix of, like, that was a very good mainstream hardcore match. I mean, they did have blood, and some people don't like blood, but I feel like blood is needed in a rivalry like this, where they both go all out here and do what they do. And that was awesome. And then in our main event, we had Austin Aries and Moose. And this was great. You gave them 15 minutes, almost 16 minutes, 15:50. And they just went out there and they did their thing. They had a great match. Moose at one point launched him into the fans. Austin Aries did a brain buster out on the outside. And in the end, it was Austin Aries who got the pin. And finally, no shenanigans really. And it just ended with Austin Aries as champion. And that's kind of what we want to see in wrestling nowadays. Because I feel like in WWE especially, they don't give us like those happy ending finishes that we want. It feels like too much with WWE, and I'm doing like a comparison here to WWE, which I shouldn't because I said they're nothing like WWE, but they're actually just giving us a straight up main event title match. And that's what people want. With the Brock Lesnar situation, we're not getting those main event title matches. Even with AJ Styles as champion, we're not getting a main event title match. And here, they're just giving us, you know what? We have two competitors who are going to go out there. They're going to put on a great match. It's going to be 15, 20, 30 minutes long, and they're going to do their thing, and that's what you're going to get with them. And that's exactly what we want in 2018. And this is a perfect mix of like, this is kind of like a takeover type thing. And I like it. It's because you make these feuds, you build them for a while, and then you get to see them end at this pay-per-view. If they're going to do like 4 pay-per-views a year, which I think they should stick to like 4 a year. If they do like 4 pay-per-views a year and they are all this good where they're like, because you know when you watch an NXT takeover, you know you're getting, okay, that's going to be awesome. There's going to have some feuds. They're going to boil over and the matches are just going to be great. And I feel like that's what this is. You get 8 matches that are amazing. These feuds have been built for a while and we're getting something that's just not traditional WWE Pro Wrestling. It's indie wrestling, but on a higher scale. And I feel that with this, because they still do have some of that production value, but they do still let them do some of the freedom of the independent wrestling. And I really, really, really like that. I think Don Callis, Scott D'Amore doing a great job at Impact Wrestling. I feel like you need to watch this product. Now I'm going to tune in on Thursday. I might do a review on Thursday just because I want to do a review. And I really enjoy this product. I feel like people crap on this product so much without even watching. Oh, TNA sucks. They're dead. TNA is awful. Yes, TNA is dead. This is Impact Wrestling, and it is awesome. Did you hear the chants last night? This is Impact. Literally awesome. Top to bottom, great card. Let's hope they can keep the momentum, keep it going, leading up until Bound for Glory in New York. We'll see. I'm excited, though, because I really did like, again, there wasn't that bad of matches. I think everything was really good. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this, as always, I'm TonyPizzaGuy. We'll see you in another video.